What would you do, Eric Holmes, with One Night in Tokyo? Well, it's a family show. We probably have me and Eric could probably go to a nice sushi joint, eat some nice fish or something, or go to a karaoke bar, maybe go to a
I would
sauna. I
fly
don't know.
in, have my long distance girlfriend break up with me immediately. And, uh, now, I'll let you
Go
get.
ahead. Oh, you were doing so good. Well, here's what
So,
Eric. Yeah, go ahead.
as soon as that happened, this is how quickly I had this movie's number. As soon as she breaks up with him, I'm like, oh, let's see. So he goes out, walks around in Tokyo, meets some girl, and then later on, his ex wants to get back with him.
Yes,
That's
not a
that,
spoiler because it's inevitable, like the showdown at a
yeah.
Western. It's these are not.
So now
Yeah,
I'm going into the movie. I mean, that's pretty much the plot summary, right? Like, there's
yeah.
a little
You're
more. There's a little more to it that I don't want to give away a certain thing that happens
sure,
kind of in the middle of all that.
of
But
course.
that's essentially what it is. So I had the movie pegged almost immediately, and I still love this
This is so
because
good.
because it's not about the plot, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. This movie is before sunset in Tokyo.
Simple.
It's that
That's
kind
it.
of movie because
Yeah.
so he breaks up with his girlfriend,
The
and then
person's
they
name is
go.
Sam. Sam, played by Reza. I apologize, Reza. Mia. Mia. Okay, go ahead.
So he goes to he wants to go with his friend that lives out there. He's like, well, I got something to do, but you know what? My wife can take you. Or wife, girlfriend.
Girlfriend. Yeah, girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah. She can take you. And then so he meets up with his girlfriend and she's like, hey, how's it going? And then she just leaves. And the weird thing is, they don't really speak the language. He doesn't speak Japanese, and a lot of them don't speak English.
That's so cool, right?
Which
So
they
for
did a
about
really cool thing with that.
yeah, a really long cool thing with that. It's a long scene, but
Yeah.
it's and I
Well,
love that.
it kind of well. So anyway, so they
Yeah.
go to the sushi restaurant, and they're just sitting there talking for like what 30 minutes.
It seems like maybe 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, but it felt like 30 minutes, but quite a while. It's
It
quite
felt
a
like a
while.
long time,
Okay.
and I'm sitting there thinking simultaneously, oh, and then what happened? But also once in a while, it'd be like creeping in my mind. It's like I should be bored as hell by this movie by now, but I'm
Because it's all
not.
talking. It's all talking, dude.
It's just a hangout movie.
Hang out.
And then when they finally leave, and then he ends up with Becca.
Uh,
No, not Becca.
Ayaka.
Yeah.
That's the name of the yeah, played
When the
by
two of them are
Toki.
hanging
Yeah.
out, they're trying to a thing happens, and then they end up hanging out a little longer than they thought they would.
Well, let's just say also
She doesn't speak English. He doesn't
right.
speak Japanese, and so he pulled. This was a cool thing they did. He pulls out his phone and he's got the translator on the phone. And so he's talking, and then she's looking at the phone, and then she'll respond. And he looks at the phone, and then he responds, and she looks at the phone. And then all of a sudden, they're not paying attention to the phone anymore. And even at one point, he just puts the phone in his pocket.
Yes.
So it's like
I
us
can
as the
see.
audience understand that realistically they would constantly be looking at the phone, but that's not
Hmm.
cinematic. So he's just gonna put it in his pocket. Let's imagine the phone's there the whole time. We're not even gonna deal with that anymore. I'm
I
like,
love that.
that was
100.
a
That,
great choice.
that was cool. That is a life's too short. Let's just go on with the story kind
Yeah,
of thing. And I thought
like
that was cool.
you know what? We know what we're doing. Audience understands it. We're moving on. Like in Valkyrie, they did
Okay.
that.
Right.
Tom Cruise is speaking German, and then the German fades into his normal English voice. So it's like the movie saying, "Look, we get it. They're speaking German, but we got actors from all over the place. So let's just all agree that they're going to speak in their normal voice, but we're going to pretend that they're speaking German."
Yeah. And if you
And then
want to see
the
that other movie,
audience is
that's
like,
yeah.
yeah, I can get behind that.
Yeah. And if you're not behind it, then you can stop watching this movie,
Yeah.
right? It's one of those things. I think that was cool.
But
Yeah.
yeah, then the rest of the movie is just them hanging out, talking, and not much more to it than there, other than what I said. Because eventually
A couple things.
they kind of start to like each other, and then the Becca's like, "Oh, maybe come back to me."
It's one of these things where you don't, these are plot details that are not spoilers because, like Eric said, it's more of a hangout experience movie in
Yeah,
Tokyo. If you've never been to Tokyo, if you've never had one night in Tokyo, I think it'd be a great immersive experience for an indie film. This movie was shot on barely any kind of budget, but the director slash writer, Joshua Woodcock, does a great job with whatever funds he had for the movie. The actors Reza, I apologize, Emma Mie and Tokiko Kitagawa, they're great as the leads. You really understand there is that budding chemistry between Sam and Ayaka is really good. Okay, so there's another sequence in this movie that I really loved, where Sam and Ayaka are talking about their favorite movies. Spoiler alert, I'm going to mention two movies that are discussed within that bar sequence. One is the Yasujiro Ozu film called Tokyo Story, and Ayaka talks about why it's one of her favorite films. And then Sam briefly mentions the Charlie Chaplin film City Lights. And Eric, have you seen City Lights yet?
No.
I've never seen City Lights, but I remember several years ago, I interviewed a filmmaker, and I've got to find it somewhere. I forgot the name of the filmmaker, but he mentioned City Lights was his favorite movie. And when he was talking about City Lights, the Chaplin film, he almost cried. His voice cracked. So I remember years ago when he said that, when that filmmaker, his voice cracked when he mentioned City Lights. I definitely have, and since Charlie Chaplin's City Lights is mentioned in One Night in Tokyo, as well as that great Ozu film Tokyo Story, we know that Joshua Woodcock is a really he's a huge cinephile, and I can't wait to see City Lights finally after all these years. I can't wait to see
Did
it. But
City Lights come out in 1993?
no, that's not. We're gonna talk about Patreon before we leave. Very good, Eric Holmes, to remind me. But One Night in Tokyo, bottom line, beautiful, sublime movie. It's on digital and VOD February 14th. I'll probably buy this movie when it hits digital and just keep it on my iPad. Just keep it for posterity. It's a very Bruce Perky earlier in the show, or actually in the cinematic, which you're going to hear in a few moments. He mentions the words hidden gem. I feel like One Night in Tokyo is a hidden gem. My big wish for it is it doesn't become hidden. I really love this movie so much. My rating for One Night in Tokyo, 4.5 stars.
Oh,
Eric
this
Holmes,
one's.
final thought. Yeah,
I
four and a
thought
half.
you would have been higher on this,
Oh,
but I mean, four and a half still pretty good. I'm 5 stars on this. If you like the Before trilogy, and I love the Before trilogy, think of this as like a Japanese reboot of that. This one has a little more plot than the Before trilogy does, because the
you know
Before
what?
trilogy they're just kind of walking and
Yeah,
talking. This one has a little plot to it, but for the most part, it's just them walking and talking pretty much through the whole movie.
it's one of do you agree with this? It's a resonant film without being too sentimental and sappy. It's not a sappy movie. I
Not
didn't find just a really well done film. One Night in Tokyo. Okay.
and again, I I had the whole plot figured out. Like within the first three, as soon as she breaks up with them, I'm like, I know exactly where this is going, and it went exactly there. Didn't matter because the characters were there, the hangout vibe was there, and I was just I was locked in the whole time. And this is me saying this. This is
Right.
usually a movie that you and Bruce love, and I'll watch and go, but
Right. Remember like
and I
that
think I
movie
liked it more than you did.
you liked him. You liked him more than this is one of these things. I hope Bruce eventually gets to see One Night in Tokyo. Eric Holmes, you and I are on the poverty scale of society. We're trying to scrape two nickels together. But I was thinking, if you and I were multimillionaires, would we throw some bones for One Night in Tokyo 2? Would we
The
help produce that movie, One Night
You
in
know what?
Tokyo 2?
You know what? It made this movie better
What?
if Dermot Mulroney was in it. If he just showed up somewhere.
We love Dermot Mulroney. I
Hey,
would
do you guys want a light blue icicle thing?
Oh, those there's blue icicles in this movie that look, I can't wait to eat that one of these days. But yes, 5 stars for Eric Holmes, 4.5 stars for me. I am clamoring for One Night in Tokyo 2. If that never happens, One Night in Tokyo will suffice. Digital and VOD, February 14th. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.